Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. On today's episode, we're here from the Polish National Library at Kruszyński Palace.
The main task of the National Library is to collect, store and archive the intellectual achievements of Poles, which consists of monuments of national literature fixed manually on parchment and paper, editions of old Polish outposts and contemporary national publishing, graphic, music, audiovisual and electronic documents, as well as Polish publications concerning which appeared abroad. The national resources also include manuscripts of prints of other nations created on the territory of the Polish state, foreign works that were once collected in historical Polish book collections, as well as selected contemporary foreign publications in the field of humanities, necessary for participation in the global culture.
Okay, so Dr. Makowski, here we have the Holy Cross Annals, the first book we're going to look at. Why is this a particularly significant book?
To jest właściwie sam początek polskiej historii, polskiego państwa, ale także...
This is actually the very beginning of the Polish history, the Polish state, but also the Christianization of Poland. We have here a register of every important event that happened in Poland. We have, from the year 965, Dobrówka's arrival to Mieszko I of Poland. A year later, Mieszko's baptism. If we take a closer look, we see Latin, the language very familiar to scholars. This is a relic of Polish history. This is the story of Poland's Christianization.
To jest relikwia polskiej historii, polskiego chrześcijaństwa.
Here we have the oldest prose that exists in Poland.
To było dla nas bardzo zaskakujące, kiedy odczytaliśmy...
When we read this text again from a very different perspective, the fact that the Polish language was so rich surprised us. The whole text didn't survive. We only have this small piece thanks to Alexander Brichter, who found the strips of this text in another manuscript. He combined it together in one piece. We're searching for other manuscripts on strips with the oldest Polish prose, which possibly survived. The most important thing for us is that at least this amount of treasure survived, and it's a very good example of the development of language.
Okay, the next piece we have here is really one of the most striking books, this silver-binded piece from Princess Anastasia from the 12th century.
To jest tekst oczywiście ewangeliczny, ale najcenniejsze w tym XII-wiecznym rękopisie to jest ta oprawa.
This is an evangelical text. The most important thing of this 12th century manuscript is its binding. The binding is silver, one side gilded. It has only a few damaged parts. The whole book survived. The golden cross was pulled off, but the binding still looks amazing. Let's not forget that these kinds of treasures came from the treasury house or monasteries, and we had a lot of monasteries in Poland, which were robbed. There's no way we can find the second part of this text.
Także klasztorów, których wiele znajdowało się w Polsce, zostało ograbionych. I tej części historii już nie odnajdziemy.
So this next book is a rather large one, dating back to the 11th century, originating from Kraków.
To jest bardzo cenny obiekt ze skarbca Biblioteki Narodowej.
This object is very valuable, and it comes from the treasury house of the Polish National Library. The golden letters written on a purple parchment with amazing illustrations. For instance, Jesus on the throne with symbols of evangelists and silver. The manuscript was the property of the famous Benedictine Abbey near Krakow.
Tynieckiego, opactwa benedyktynów, niedaleko królewskiego miasta Krakowa.
So this book here, I think this is a particularly significant one as the first ever Polish chronicle.
Rękopis nie wygląda na bardzo poważny i znaczący, a taki jest, dlatego że
The manuscript doesn't seem to be serious, but it is. The author was a Benedictine. He wrote down the history of the first Polish rulers. The manuscript shows Polish history in a European context. The original didn't survive. We have a few copies, but this one is actually the oldest. It comes from an amazing collection of the noble family Zamoyscy. Thanks to this family, we have the most valuable collection in the library.
Prowadzili jedną z najcenniejszych w ogóle kolekcji bibliotecznych w Europie.
So I think this particular book is of particular importance as the oldest surviving full text of book.
To prawda, i ten tekst został przygotowany dla świętej królowej Jadwigi, żony Władysława Jagiełły.
This text was prepared by the first female monarch of the Kingdom of Poland, Saint Jadwiga, who was Władysław II Jagiełło's wife. The beautifully decorated Psalter is written in Polish, Latin, and German. Let's take a look at Jadwiga's coat of arms. Every side of it is decorated. This is an amazing piece of art. The manuscript was supposed to be Jadwiga's prayer book, but unfortunately she died before the manuscript was finished, so she didn't get the chance to complete it. We found it in the Austrian St. Florian Monastery in the 19th century. The Polish government bought it and gave it to our library. It truly is a treasure.
Wznowionej Biblioteki Narodowej, dla nas jest to prawdziwy skarb.
Next is this is the Book of Hours. So maybe you could explain what exactly is the Book of Hours.
To jest modlitewnik dla osób świeckich.
This is a book of prayer for laypersons. Clergy have breviaries. They read from them several times a day. Religious people also wanted to have something to pray with. Books of prayers were prepared in a lot of amazing abbeys, but also lay workshops. The Book of Prayers was beautifully decorated in Western Europe for kings and queens. This is an example of amazingly decorated manuscript made by a few artists. This one shows St. Francis stigmata and beautiful borders which not only let you pray, but also see the highest class of art. We have a lot of these kinds of manuscripts. The Book of Hours in our collection, but many of them were destroyed during the Second World War.
Book of Hours mamy bardzo dużo w kolekcji polskiej, ale było dużo więcej przed II wojną światową.
So this book was put on the UNESCO list of memories.
Rękopis z początku XI wieku.
The manuscript comes from the beginning of the 11th century. It is one of the oldest registrations of the Old Church Slavonic language in Cyrillic script. Poland is on the border of Eastern and Western cultures. We can find a lot of examples in Poland of the amazing manuscripts and printings from Eastern culture. This is one of the most valuable ones. It's beautifully decorated in a way used 1,000 years ago. The most valuable part of it, of course, is the text and the language in which it is written.
Język, w którym został zapisany.
So next up we have a very small piece of paper, but nonetheless very important and interesting one from Frédéric Chopin.
To jest tylko mała część, ale w bibliotece.
This is just a small part, but we have the biggest saved part of Frédéric Chopin's music manuscripts in the Polish National Library. We keep this treasure of world culture. Chopin is a big part of the wider world of culture. Fortunately, it was taken away to Canada, where it survived during the Second World War.
Przetrwał II wojnę światową.
So next we have a manuscript from Henryk Sienkiewicz.
Dokładnie tak. I znakomicie widać, że...
Exactly. The novel was written in episodes. Sienkiewicz didn't write the whole book. It wasn't like that. He was sending an episode every week, and that's how the novel was written. This is the most famous Polish novel in the world. Maybe it's not that famous today, but 100 or 70 years ago, it was commonly known as a novel describing the beginning of Christianity.
Znana jako powieść o początkach chrześcijaństwa w ogóle.
This is a piece of poetry that survived from the Warsaw Uprising.
To prawda, jest to dla nas bezcenny skarb, dlatego że jest to rękopis.
It's true. This is a priceless treasure for us. That's because this is the manuscript, the book of poetry of Krzysztof Baczyński. He not only wrote it, but he also drew the illustrations. It was dedicated to his wife on the day of their wedding, June 3rd, 1942. He was an amazing poet. His death was one of the biggest losses of the Second World War. We lost not only beautiful objects, but wonderful brains and hearts. It's one of the diamonds that we lost during the Second World War.
Wspaniałe umysły I serca. Jest to jeden z tych brylantów, które straciliśmy w czasie II wojny światowej.
And so the final piece here is particularly interesting and insightful one. Wartime librarian here, and he was at the time making notes about 17th century opera.
Widać tutaj historię, albo właściwie wiele historii, bo to jest karta katalogowa.
This is a manuscript's catalog card. The manuscript was burned. All that is left is this catalog card, but this is not the most important thing here. One of its descriptions tells a story about a librarian who looked through the window and saw people running away from Germans. He heard shots and described everything. It's very hard to imagine a situation like that today. The town and people trying to catch other people, to kill them, or to take them to a concentration camp.
To jest jeden z tych opisów.
Thank you very much for joining us at Poland Daily Culture. Join us again tomorrow when we take another journey through Polish culture.